just explain. Okay, so it's just a sound test. Emanuele is just off camera and he's listening to a live broadcast from the Italian president. So we'll just wait for people to come into the room. If you have any questions, we're going to be focusing on the Czech Republic and what's happening in certain parts of Europe, but particularly in Italy and also with Vietnam, and the different approaches that different countries are taking, and some tips and things that you can think about. And hopefully you listened to the previous stream and you've got yourself prepared and you know, you've got everything in place. If you haven't done that, then we'll go over what you probably need to think about. So Emanuele is just getting the latest from the Italian president, who's doing a live broadcast right now. So we'll wait until people come into the room.
La sua battaglia contro questa pandemia. Siamo, lo ricordo, il paese che per primi in Europa è stato colpito più duramente dal coronavirus. Siamo anche quelli però che stanno reagendo con maggior forza, con la massima precauzione, diventando giorno dopo giorno un modello per tutti gli altri.
Okay, so I don't think he's saying anything interesting, so Emanuele's going to join us, so we'll get started. Now, whilst we're waiting for people to join us, I was rifling through some stuff today, and whether you're not aware of this or you might be aware of this, the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project is looking into new energy technologies, and we are working currently to replicate the work of Tadahiko Mizuno, and that's Alan Goldwater in California. We have a undisclosed location. We are rebuilding a BN 2000 Brown's gas generator to test the claims of radiation remediation from that, and also other transmutation. And also we have another project where we're just going to be kicking that off. We're working with a very eminent scientist who's already built the electronics, and that is to replicate the PAP device. So we're going full guns a-blazing, and also we're helping scientists understand their data. Now, just before we get going, I was rifling through my old new issues of New Scientist, and there's one here, and it says, one man thinks that the electron has been split. If he's right, it's curtains for quantum theory. So this was actually in 14th of October 2000, and I went to the article, and this was literally a few hours ago, to say, wow, this is pretty amazing. It kind of lines up with what I'm seeing in experimental data, and lo and behold, the following article was no mercy, and it was all about the 1918 flu pandemic, right there with how it spread around the world. Now, the difference between this pandemic here, if you look at this chart here, and the pandemic we're having right now, is that there wasn't literally millions and millions of people flying around the world carrying the disease. And it is flu, so, you know, there is some herd immunity. There's basically no herd immunity in this particular disease, and so this is why it really is a serious situation that humanity is facing right now, because until you get about 80% of the herd, that is us cows, us workers, with some immunity to this condition, basically it will keep reoccurring until everyone's got 80%. And what I'm saying there is, you need like 80% of the community to have the condition and have got over it. And then if someone gets it over here, then he can't spread it on to anyone else because they've all got immunity around him. So it's like wildfire. You basically, right now, the whole world is a tinderbox of potentially burnable, infectable people. And so I think really where this is true no more than any other country is Italy right now. And Italy, there's at least 2 strains. And one thing you need to think about is that every single person that this goes into, there's a chance in those millions and millions and billions of virus that are produced in a person, there's a chance every time that a new one is made that there might be a mutation, and it makes it more lethal. So there's already, I think, an SNL strain. No one actually knows what the strain is that is in Italy. But there are several demographic issues. Like South Korea seems to be doing very well. They're taking a very different approach. They're basically testing everyone very quickly in drive-through testing systems, and that means they might be identifying far more people that have the condition. And identifying them earlier so that they can start taking rest and taking medications or whatever, so that their death rate is coming in at 0.7 to 0.9. The situation in Italy as of yesterday, I don't know what it is today, maybe Emanuele can fill us in, but as of yesterday, of the people that were confirmed to have it, it's like 8% have died. But at the moment, we've only got like 1,080 or 1,090 recovered, with like nearly 900 dead. So the picture is not looking good. So Emanuele can speak to that and what's happening there. You have to take this seriously. Literally 1 month ago today, I said, because it's obviously aerosolized and because of the extreme measures that we're taking in China, this is not your ordinary flu. The ordinary flu kills about 0.1% of the population. So even if you've got 0.9% in South Korea, it's still 9 times worse than the flu. But if you have any stress on your healthcare system, the deaths that are not counted in these death numbers are the people that didn't get proper attention and care because people were in the hospital with COVID-19 or coronavirus. And so you have an issue that not just the actual people that are suffering with coronavirus, that you have this issue with other people that would ordinarily survive through normal conditions that one would expect. In Italy, in the UK, we were told we have like about 15 or 16 beds where they can do this. Like your lungs have failed, you can't breathe, you can't take on any oxygen. So they like take your blood out through a machine that breathes for you, and the oxygen comes back into your body. So if you have a complication rate of only a serious complication rate of 5%, okay, you only need 300 people to have this condition and go on to serious complications before there's no more beds available for those complicated cases. Just 300. Well, we surpassed that easily yesterday in the UK. This is the UK, and they surpassed that. So this is a really serious thing. And what no one really appreciated, I think, in many countries, was that this is an exponent function. We're very aware of this in low energy nuclear reactions. If something goes very bad, it can very quickly fail, and people may remember our bang experiment. It goes from 0 to hero very, very quickly. You have case. Oh, we're okay. Case. Oh, don't worry, everything's fine. Go back to work. Cluster. Oh, we've got some clusters. Okay, don't worry, we can contain it. Boom, and that's how almost everything happens before you are ready. So 1 month ago, you had notice. As of today, it is now considered a pandemic. Strictly speaking, I should have thought that would have been given 2-3 weeks ago. And I think about 3 weeks ago, I was saying to Emanuele, the person that came to the Czech Republic from a known infection area was basically committing homicide. And that, as we will reveal, is essentially what a number of countries around the world are now considering the action of leaving your self-quarantine or even lying about whether you may or may not have it. So, okay, so with that, I'm going to ask Emma, what's the latest you've got from, speak to the camera there, what's the latest you have from Milan? Emma is from Milan. He has family there and many friends there. He knows the whole region. For those that are not familiar, Emanuele was our translator with Francesco Piantelli, and without visiting Francesco Piantelli, the project wouldn't have the understanding to be able to share with the world that we've learned. And it was this man who real-time translated for the best part of a week, and it was really tough work, I tell you. He also translated for us in Padua at the ICCF conference there. Padua is along with Asti, where the conference was, where my lovely wife, Kim here, attended. Those two places are now in this early quarantine zone, but now the whole of 60 million people in Italy now are under quarantine. So, Emanuele,
it's more than 60. It's all the nation now.
The whole nation. So, what kind of restrictions have they got now? What can't they do?
Well, actually, the Premier is talking, and just a few days ago, he told the people to stay home, and they started to shut down a lot of things. I just want to start from the beginning, like 20 days ago.
So about 20 days ago, there were 3 cases in Italy.
Yeah, it was
3 cases in Italy. It's nearly 11,000. Is it 11,000 now? 12,000?
12,500.
12,500 in 20 days from 3. You need to understand how serious this condition is. Okay, I'll let Manuel go.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, it just started 20 days ago with the case number 1, and now we have like more than 12,000, and the situation is in the north of Italy is kind of collapsing because we obviously have our welfare. This is very good in the north of Italy, but obviously there are many people that are intubated, many people in hospitals, and it's not only old people. I mean, we have a lot of death every day, like yesterday and today, like 200 almost. Basically, 80% is from people from 70, 80 years old. But I know from friends of friends from Milano that since 1 week ago, it was just a terrible problem because also the young people are affecting the coronavirus. We have a lot of youngsters who are 20 years old that have a big, strong pneumonia, or some of them are also intubated.
Pneumonia, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm totally worried about the family, obviously, because my mom is almost 80. Everybody was in panic, and now it's kind of little better for sure. But yeah, mom, she's home. My sister, she's home with my nephews. My brother is home. Everybody is home since 20 days ago. Unfortunately, they work on by home working.
I want to step in on the point of the young people. So a doctor, you shared me an audio recording of a doctor, and he was saying there are like 20, 30 somethings all in the hospital, and they're all having to have respiration assistance in their 20s and 30s.
So the problem was that people didn't understand until today or a few days ago. People didn't understand that they should stay home. They should not go out. So the young, they should not be going to meet people, not going to bars, to dinners or restaurants, because it's very dangerous. Because when you have a guy who is 20 and he goes to some friends, and then he goes back home, and he can find a grandpa and grandmas, and they can stay together, and then grandpa and mama, they have a big risk too.
Because I mean, the Italian culture, and particularly in North Italy, it's very, very family oriented, and also it's very social. So there's a lot of hugging, there's a lot of kissing, there's a lot of slapping, there's kissing on both cheeks. There's close-knit restaurants. Everyone goes or many people go for their cafe and their croissant, their pastry in the morning. So if you can imagine, they go to a pastry house and they're sitting there opposite the waiter, and the waiter gets it. Then no one knows for 2 weeks. The waiter's serving everyone who comes in there every day. They're all going back to their family. I mean, it's a beautiful, rich culture, and everyone. I think North Italy is one of the cultures in Europe more than anywhere else where they go home and eat, even at lunchtimes, with their families. So they have these very tight families. So and actually they are the oldest country in Europe, I think. So they're specifically at high risk of this. But to go back to the point about the 20-somethings and the 30-somethings that are getting this, and they're having to be put on respirators, the pneumonia can cause scarring of your lungs. And the net result of that is for the rest of your life, you will have a lower quality of life, and you may die younger. So this is a risk for the young. Now, there's a chance that young people may think, oh, it's just old people are dying. No, you need to take a serious look at how this is going to affect your long-term life, and you need to be prepared. So I'll let Emanuele go on about like typical work offices, and your brother showed his office, right?
He's insurance. He works on insurances. He has like 1,000 square meters. He just showed me like 2 days ago, 3 days ago. He goes to office like once in a week, maybe, and he has the mask and the glasses. And obviously, in the office there are like two people. So that's the thing everybody is going to do, and what everybody is doing now. So in the city, obviously, people can go a little out for some good air, but because obviously the smog is not there anymore. But now the premier is really like closing everything. So the biggest, richest regions in Italy, that are Lombardy and Veneto, they were asking today to the premier, we want to go farther, and we want really to close almost everything, because the risk it's real. The problem is that even if the welfare is so good, we don't have so many places for so many people. Imagine.
I mean, you actually sent me it was the mayor of Bergamo. So actually, some people that flew to the ASTI conference and that flew to the conference in Padua may have flown into Bergamo, and actually he said that we only have a few thousand beds for the serious cases, and they're all full. So now they're just having to leave people to die.
Right.
So that's it. So as I've said,
I have like 2-3 messages every day. Some doctors talking and like saying we are totally fucked up, if I can say.
Yeah.
And
don't monetize.
We have to decide. Okay, this guy has these diseases. Oh, he's almost 80. Okay, he's going to die. Okay, we cannot do. Oh, this guy is 70. Oh, he has just one disease. Okay, we can try to help him. They just started like 1 week ago to make this big decision.
It's
like
triage.
It's like in the war.
Yeah, you have to basically decide who you're going to try and save, and who's got the best chance of helping save themselves. And do not think this won't happen to you. So we were trying to work out. I think we had maybe 6 or 7 cases at the beginning of the week, and how many have we got here in the Czech Republic now?
91.
91. We're on Wednesday, and at the beginning of the week we had a few. Like in the beginning of the last 7 days.
Yeah. Now we have the 2 first cases that are intubated. One is in here where we live in Brno, and one is in Prague.
And
but they did good, I guess, because the premier in Czech Republic he just decided yesterday to close the schools.
Yeah, so we have the children at home now, but we've been planning for this for a month. We've got lots of games in. I've got an old Amiga with about 2,000 games, and my son's been wanting to play it for like a couple of years, and so
we have about 80 kilogram rice.
We've got about 3 months supply of food, and
toilet paper.
Everything we need. The things that we told you should get in, if you haven't already got it, well, the point is, as I said to you 1 month ago today, if you're going to panic first, and then it's not really panic. I think time is seriously running out for people in the US. It's basically gone for people in Western Europe. Even as far as I understand today, even in France, Germany, and the UK and Spain, they're still allowing gatherings up to 1,000 people. Well, the Czech government yesterday said, I think it was yesterday or the day before, said no gatherings above 100. So basically, that shuts everything down. You can't have cinemas, you can't have swimming pools, you can't have any kind of major event. So it's funny because I said to Kim, we went swimming on the weekend. I said to the kids before we went into swimming, I said, you guys, I'm really sorry, but this may be the last time we go swimming for many months. It's just the way it's going to be. So let's go and enjoy it.
As Bob said, if you want to panic first. It means that think about it and start to think how to act in the right way. Don't care about the other people, but just do the right way by yourself.
Yeah, and then you can help other people.
I just started like since 3 weeks ago when I listened to my brother and my sister and my mother in Milano. So I do the right thing. I don't go out. I don't meet people. I do the minimum I can do.
So yeah, no handshaking, no kissing, no hugging. So I've been using this technique in India all the time. I was in India, actually. It might sound a bit weird, but I would tend to use my little fingers to open handles and turn switches on, because I never really do much with my little finger, and it tends to be my little finger on my left hand. This is what I would use. The other tip that I would do is whenever I was using a touch screen, like at McDonald's, if I ever ate there, which you can't do in India in most towns, but let's say you were at McDonald's, wherever, or a KFC where you have these big touch screens, I don't use the pad of my finger. I have always been turning on switches, on doing buttons in public spaces using a knuckle. Using a knuckle. It might sound weird, but I did not get sick in India for 8.5 years. Okay. So you don't know when someone's touched that self-checkout at the supermarket if they had COVID or one of their friends did, so that and if it can live, there are varying things. It can live from 2 days to 9 days on various surfaces. Let's say it's 9 days. You've got 9 times all the people that use that machine, plus everyone else they've met, chance of getting some disease on that thing. So if you're going to have to use them, press with your knuckle. And in this case, it's probably a good time to use your card to do, just not handle too much cash. So
someone in Vietnam use a condom to
use what?
The condom to
a condom.
A condom to get the lid.
Good idea.
Like this, he take it off and put in his finger and then.
Yeah, today I was on the tram. I was using this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and so if you're meeting someone, a doctor in the UK, so the elbow bump like that, because you actually can't get your elbow in your mouth or your eyes, and you can't get it in your bum. I suppose if you want, you can get it in your nether regions down there, but you're really, really trying to infect yourself if that's the case.
In China, they make a video about like if you see the people, it's just like
you tap their foot.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So China, the welcome is to tap someone's foot. So in the UK, they're recommending elbow bumps. So I did it to Emanuele. I said, "Hi, Emanuele," like this.
Well, in Vietnam, we just say hello.
So I know we're very joking apart, but it's very, very, very serious in Italy.
Yeah, now the new restrictions here are, for example, you can go to buy something to eat on the nearest place. You can go just to some family member who is ill. You can just run your dog, and you can also make some activity outside, but alone.
Yeah,
and you need like 2 meters away from the others.
Well, that's
interesting. And you need a self document that you wrote. If you are traveling, if you have to go somewhere to work, you will say the police will stop you. I will say, "What are you doing?" So I'm going from point A to point B because I have to do this, and then we go back home. So that's why now the Premier is talking now on TV. And that's why Lombardia and Veneto, they want to shut down everything, because if I have to stay home, I just have to go to the market and go back. So I don't need to go and buy some skirts or some usual stuff that I
yeah. So talking about punishments, and in fact, maybe we can do this by country. So in Moscow, if you are told to go in self-quarantine and you come out of self-quarantine, it's a 5-year prison sentence. And now we're going
from 1 to 12 years.
So for what?
If, as you said, if you are in quarantine and you are positive to the virus, you can stay from 1 to 12 years.
Right. So in Italy now, if you break your self-quarantine, it's between 1 and 12 years prison sentence. But I also heard that if in Vietnam, if you knowingly, so I said to Emanuele about the American lady that traveled and really got the Italian virus started here.
Yeah.
I said, really, that person has committed manslaughter. And sooner or later, governments will be treating it as manslaughter. Now, in Italy, they're saying that if you kill someone because you knowingly spread the disease, you've got it, and you give it to someone else and they die, how many years?
From 1 to 12.
From 1 to 12.
It's a big difference, but
But in Vietnam,
if you know you got it and you still go out and you not go to the doctor, you may be injured for 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, but you were saying
And then
if someone dies, yeah.
No. If you I mean,
Louder, honey.
someone infected it.
Yeah.
You have to stay in there for 2 to 6 years.
Yeah.
If
So up to 6 years.
Two in
Yeah.
in those people infected die, you have to stay in there up to 12 years.
Yeah. So it essentially, if you infect someone and one person dies, I think it's up to 5 or 6 years prison sentence, and if 2 people die, it's 12 up to 12 years prison sentence.
And you have to pay $500.
And $500, which is quite a lot of money. If a lot of people earn like $400 a month there, and they're basically hand to mouth for that. So to pay $500 is probably your disposable income for a year. So,
but in Czech Republic, it's the same thing. You have to pay.
Oh, it's a huge fine.
$50,000.
No, it's 3 million crown.
Oh.
3 million crown. If you now is that if you
$150,000.
Yeah, about $150,000.
And 10 years in jail.
Yeah. So if you break your self-quarantine and infect someone else, it's $150,000 in the Czech Republic. That's US dollars, around about, and up to 10 years in jail.
Where you come from, right? And you not tell the doctor.
Yeah.
You come back from where, so you have to pay $150,000.
Oh yeah, sorry. So the $150,000 fine is if you, for instance, you go to Italy or come back from Italy and you don't tell the doctor that you've been there. So if you're lying about where you've been to try and avoid inconvenience. So these are serious things. Now,
obviously, all the transports are blocked. Like Austria and Slovenia, they close the borders to Italy. And
so Switzerland. Austria and Slovenia, they've all closed their borders to Italy. So basically, other than France, you're completely isolated.
Almost, yes.
That's a fancy thinking. They're not closed yet.
Well, we know someone who's been staying with us, and he's French, and he doesn't quite understand what's going on in France.
Yeah. I just have a message from a friend. She's in France, and she really told me French people don't understand what's going on. And I have a friend who was writing me, and he had to fly to France, and he was flying in France. He's Italian, and he said, really, these people are really French people don't understand what's going on. They are like doing what is not allowed to do, kissing people, meeting people between hostesses and pilots, and coughing and everything. So he was the only one on the French flight, with the mask, and everybody was looking to him like a crazy person.
So the countries that have done very, very well, that had it early, are South Korea, Taiwan, and Singapore. And basically, in those countries, if I can get it out now, every single of those countries have these masks, and in fact this one is in fact made in Taiwan, you can see here. And basically with these masks, they're only really for one use, and you don't grab them at the front because that's where you collect all the virus particles. I may put this on the wrong way around, but essentially don't try and take it off once it's on, essentially. So if I put it on that way, I put it around my ears like this. I make that fit around my nose snug, and then I pull that under my chin. And I can actually feel that that's basically sealed. Now, I actually should wash my hands completely before I do that, okay? And then when I pull this off, I do not grab here, because that's where the virus particles have collected. I grab it at the ears, and then I pull it off. I dispose of it, and then I go and wash my hands again. Now, the thing about these masks is they're essentially useless if someone's coughing into the environment and you've got one of these on. It might lower your chances a very small amount. These masks we've got is for managing the disease in our house. it's only useful if every single person, like they're doing in Singapore, like they're doing in South Korea, like they're doing in Japan, like they're doing in Taiwan. It's only useful if every single person on the street have these. And Vietnam are doing the same, and I believe in China as well.
99%.
Yeah, and I think basically if you go out in China, if you're in a quarantine zone, you're allowed out twice a week to go and get food. You must be wearing a mask, otherwise it's serious penalties there.
Yeah.
And in fact, in the SARS epidemic, they had a doctor that knew he had it, but he ended up starting a new an outbreak of 100 people. And they actually introduced, or were considering introducing, the death penalty for knowingly spreading the virus, because essentially you're completely irresponsible. So the point about these masks is these should be on everyone. Otherwise, it's basically pointless. What you need these for is for at home. So we've got 4 people in the household. We cannot look after our children, or they can't help us if we're all ill at the same time. Now, the reality is that if you don't have 80% of your population that I was saying earlier that has immunity to a disease, then it's going to keep flaring up. This is going to be something that occurs for a number of years. So in the interim, you basically have 2 choices. Get infected really, really early so you can get one of those 15 beds in the UK if you get serious, or you make sure you don't get infected at all until 80% of the population has had it and survived. Those are your 2 choices. Now, it's very likely that if you don't get the first choice, you're going to be in the middle somewhere. And in that case, you don't want everyone in the household at critical, at a point where there's no healthcare available. So you need to rely on yourselves, your friends, and your family to do this right. Get a part of the house that is going to be the infection zone, and really seriously manage that. Now, I do have the better mask. Now, as I said, I advised you 4 weeks ago to get prepared for this. I think it was shortly after that we went to go and get masks.
20 days ago.
20 days ago, we went to get masks when there was only 3 cases in Italy.
In Italy.
Yeah.
But there was 0 in Czech Republic.
Yeah.
There was 0 in the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
And Emanuele was going, what, do you really think it's going to come here? I said, yes. And he says, well, should we go today or tomorrow? I said, go today. We went that day, and we got the last box of the masks that were better than this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and gloves.
All sold out.
All sold out.
Also on the internet.
And so the point about this virus is, and I will talk about the financial impacts later, because I was right there in the thick of the last financial crisis, and this is much more serious. It doesn't matter if you're the richest person on earth. If there's no hospital bed for you, no drugs available, no masks, and no food, there is literally nothing your money will buy of any use, because it just won't exist. So this is something you need to think about. You were going to say something.
Well, in Vietnam now, if you in area have a coronavirus, so you get it for free from the government. They give it for
Yeah, but that's
free.
okay, because they make them in Taiwan. They can do that. But you know what the Czech Republic did 2 weeks ago, was it, or a week ago? They banned the sale of these to the export of these to any other countries.
Yeah,
So
some other countries
yeah.
did it as well.
But they
France
stopped
and
it
Germany,
now.
I guess.
yeah,
They did.
and also they said that any masks from about a week ago were only going to be available for doctors and nurses and first responders. So you wouldn't even have the choice. If this hasn't already happened in your country, it will. Now, there is things that you can do. Like I say, the most important thing is to have something on the infected, even in your own household. Because if they cough, the whole room gets infected, right? Now, in an enclosed space, there's an epidemiological study that was published 2 days ago. They found that a guy on a bus that had it infected someone 4.5 meters in front of him. Now, most people have rooms that are less than 4.5 meters in any direction, which means if someone coughs in a room and you go into that room, you've got about 2 seconds to not be infected, okay? So they need to wear some type of protection from whatever. You could have a handkerchief, but they might miss once and then the room's infected and you have to disinfect the entire room, okay? So the infected people have to wear some type of anti-sputum ejection mechanism. Make them yourself. You can buy elastic relatively cheaply. You can buy dense fiber, even microfiber dishcloths. Fashion your own for the infected people you know, and you may even be able to dip them in saturated salt water. So the virus particles do get in from the outside. They're going to have a hard time living in that. Then this is an opportunity to protect your environment that you have to live in. So you can, rather than going straight up and all being infected at the same time and being useless to anyone, you can manage your infection in your family group over time. So, so I'm going to ask him now to talk about what's been going on in Vietnam. Vietnam have been extremely proactive with this.
So proud of my country.
Yeah, I mean they've got this viral video about washing your hands and taking right precautions.
Not only about that. I mean, like the Vietnamese government is so quick, and they just do it. They say they don't want the Vietnamese to infected about coronavirus. And
yeah, so what happened was someone they were in Italy, they went to France, they met the sister, they flew to the UK.
Vietnamese
Yeah,
girl, she's 26 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She went to UK to visit
but she
her
was
sister.
Right, okay.
And then she went to Vietnam for 2 days, and then she went to France, and she took the train from Paris to London to visit her sister again and come back to Vietnam by flight. So she came back, but I mean, like, she have a 2 passports. She have a Vietnamese passport and she have a UK passport. So she traveled to Europe by the UK passports, and then she back to Vietnam by Vietnamese, and she doesn't tell the immigration officer like where's.
And basically, she went to nightclubs, she went to shopping centres, to bars, restaurants. She went and visited her family. She had three physical relationships.
Don't say that.
I think that's about as best as I can put it.
Maybe some people just make a joke.
Okay. She got around a lot. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's official.
What's that?
They just close almost everything in Lombardy and Veneto in the north of Italy.
So when you mean, so he's just got some news.
Pharmacies and grocery stores. Or
Okay.
Supermarkets are open.
And no transport.
It's not written still, but they will be really low.
So basically, in the north of Italy, the region of the country that provides most of the economy in Italy, they've just literally shut everything, absolutely everything, except the pharmacies and the grocery stores.
Yeah.
Right now, just right now.
Yeah.
So you were saying that in Vietnam, they were actually, when this person got infected in the street in Hanoi, they actually shut off the whole street.
And then they tested everyone.
Everyone got a test.
And they when they go to how can you call it? I'm sorry about my English, but I mean, like, I just try to.
So basically, they tested everyone, and then they started delivering food to that street, and they disinfected the street. They isolated the street, and they disinfected the whole street. So I just want to answer some of the questions. So, okay, so basically, Metal Gear MK3, we have 3 new cases of corona in my city. We had 3 in the whole of the Czech Republic less than a week ago.
Yeah.
In fact, just a number of days back. So, and we already are verging on 100. It'll be over 100. And
2 in Czech Republic about.
Just such a few times. Basically, if you.
Sorry, man.
What?
It's not only in the north of Italy.
The whole of Italy.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Prime Minister of Italy has just said that only pharmacies and grocery stores are going to be open in the entire of Italy. Europe's 3rd largest economy will only have grocery shops and pharmacies open.
Yeah, and basically the transports and the essential services will be working.
So is this worse than the Asian in 1957 Hong Kong? This is far worse. It's far worse. There's almost no one alive that has experienced. You have to bear in mind that they can't even make up how many people died. If you look at Wikipedia, it's been changing the number of people that died and the number of people of the percentages that were infected. for the Spanish flu. Basically, it's laughable because they're quoting they were originally quoting a death rate that means that more than the whole population of the planet would have died, or something ridiculous like that. Basically, there was only something like 1.7 billion people then, and no one could get on a cheap flight anywhere. Or you know, there weren't even cars, for God's sake, for most people. You know, if they wanted to go anywhere, they had to get on a freaking horse or walk. You know, maybe take the train. You know, but in many countries, those options weren't even available. We have this incredibly interconnected world right now. We have vastly higher density populations. You go to America, you go to Europe, if you go to the turn of the 1900s, even those 1.7 billion, a good proportion of them were actually living in the countryside. So there was a lot of discontinuity in population groups. Now we have these massive mega cities, very closely populated, reliant on just-in-time food delivery and so forth. This is far more serious than anything, basically, ever. And I just want to talk about the financial situation here, because some of you may have deposits in banks, and you may not be aware. I was there right in the city of London when 4 economists at the bank that I was working at said that there would be, this was Friday, there would be no money in any bank account anywhere in the world by the following Tuesday. You couldn't use your credit card, letters of credit, checkbooks. You couldn't do money transfers, nothing. Nothing would have worked. And they went to Gordon Brown. By the Sunday, they'd bailed out the banks. By the following weekend, the banks around the world were bailed out. This is more serious because in this situation, in that situation, there weren't these deposit guarantees that they have in place now. Basically, if you look at what happened in Cyprus, if people had like a couple of million in the bank, then they were only guaranteed for something like the first X numbers of thousands of dollars. So it might have been $50,000 or $100,000. So the rest of it was the government property or the bank's property, right? If you've got too much money in the bank, it's not yours, okay? If you've got debt in the bank, it's their problem. If you've got money in the bank, it's your problem. So, and they can take it away from you. So you need to check what the government guarantee is on your bank deposit. If you have a lot of money in the bank, consider spreading that to other members of your family or across other bank accounts. In the UK, they introduced these laws. I think it's if you want to take out 5,000 cash or 10,000, or it's an amount of cash. And I think there are similar laws all around the world to prevent bank runs. You will not be able to get the cash because they ask you to give them a week's notice. So I want X numbers of tens of thousands or whatever, and I want it in my pocket. They're not going to let you have it. So you might be able to take some out this week, some out next week, or so on. This is going to be the situation because there isn't that much physical money around. And the reality is, if the banking system goes down for any reason, and it might, cash is king. And what might happen is, if no one's working in the world, 2 things which are really, really serious that could happen. One is your money won't count for anything, and they may devalue it. So if you've got a lot of money in the bank and they devalue it to a half or 1/10, it's great for the people that have got debt, because now when they start working again, they'll be earning 10 times the money that they've got on as debt. But if you've got money in the bank and it's cash, you need to convert that into hard assets. And that's not an easy thing to do in a market like this. You need, for personal and security for your family, you need to think about this not just being this season. It might be fixed. This might pass very, very quickly. But this is a unique experience that none of your leaders has experience of. So do not rely on them having the experience to solve this problem. You need to rely on yourself. It's not the smartest or the fittest that will survive. It's those that are most adaptable to change, as Charles Darwin said. Not the survival of the fittest. It doesn't matter if you're the strongest or the most intelligent. It's actually being able to cope with the change. And this is about as much change as you're going to see in any one short period of time in your lifetime. So what happened in the Spanish flu in 1918, it wasn't the first wave that really killed a lot of people. It was a new strain that came and hit the following season. So don't expect this to end, even if this can't survive in the summer, but there is evidence to suggest this does survive in hot weather. So I would suggest that you get yourself some seeds. These are a very, very small investment, and start to learn to plant. Ask Michael Bloomberg how to grow things. He's pretty good at that. And I would suggest zucchini because they grow very, very quickly. Peas because they're sweet in protein. And one thing I'd definitely suggest is various types of pumpkin. The reason I'm suggesting this is because of this. If people can't go to work because they're dead, ill, they can't get fuel, they can't get food, or they don't want to go to work because they don't want to get the virus, or they're looking after a loved one because there's no health system capable of looking for them, there might be a lot of food shortages in the world. Do not complain in a year's time when you can't get any food. Okay, I'm telling you now, if you grow some food, if you grow like pumpkins, you can start to eat the leaves and the flowers quite early on. Right? It's absolutely delicious, isn't it? The Mexicans love to eat the flowers of pumpkins, but in Vietnam, the leaves a lot.
Yeah, we boil it or we fry with garlic.
Yeah. So the way you actually prepare a pumpkin leaf is you cut it off. It's got a stiff stem. It's got some fibers in it. It's actually really satisfying, isn't it? You pull the strands down and it goes all the way down, and this very stiff stem goes, and it actually ends up being, and Emanuele might be able to help here, it's like that pasta with a hole through it, the straight one, not like macaroni, but it's like straight with a hole in it and ribbed. There's a type of pasta that looks like everything, let's put it that way. And anyway, so you can actually have that as a nice salad green.
I mean, like for that pumpkin, we don't think we can eat that. Like,
well,
this
pumpkin is this one here. It's a bit like a Hokkaido, or like these kind of pumpkins are absolutely fantastic. And you know what? If you look after them well, we literally had roast pumpkin today that I harvested in September or October last year. So it's been all over the winter, and I'll probably still absolutely delicious. So you can grow this. It's quite prolific, and you can make soups from it. You can roast the seeds. You can roast the flesh and so on. So I would recommend pumpkin, and I would also recommend Swiss chard, because you can eat it as salad when it's young. You can eat it as vegetable when it's old. You can stir fry the stems, and it's very prolific. And in fact, I've got Swiss chard right now growing in my garden that I planted 2 years ago. It keeps coming back for some reason. I can't get rid of it. You've got some more news. What?
From tomorrow morning at 6, Slovakia is in a state of emergency officially.
Okay, what does that mean?
It means that they can ask hotels to put the people inside. They can ask you if you're growing something that you can give it to people. They can ask whatever they want.
Okay,
so not to sell abroad. Everything.
Okay. So Slovakia has literally just announced a state of emergency.
Even if they have like 10 cases or 19 cases.
Right, but that 19 cases today is 2,000 in a week and a half.
Yeah,
people do not understand the exponent function. They do not understand it. I don't know why. It goes from zero to hero very, very quickly.
Yeah, Vietnam. Like Vietnam.
You had like 16 cases.
16 cases, and then after we don't have any more infected in 22 days. After that girl come back. And now up to 39.
Yeah, 39 in a very, very short period of time.
Few days.
And very soon it's going to be tens, and it's going to be hundreds a day.
But I mean, at 39 is that all people come back and infected from that?
Everybody was going to Slovakia. What kind of nation is no problem? Everybody has to be in quarantine.
If you enter Slovakia, you have to go into quarantine. For 14 days. It does not matter where you're coming from. Let's talk about travel restrictions now. So basically in Vietnam, they stopped people coming out. It was a long time ago, actually, didn't they?
No, they still let people come in. But I mean, if you come in Vietnam from the Korea about 2 weeks ago, or from China, inside China, tell people like they have a coronavirus, you have to safely for 14 days. 14 days. And after that, they testing. If you okay, so you out. But in 14 days, you get food for free. You have Wi-Fi to contact with your family, blah, blah, blah. And you testing for free. Now people in Vietnam, if you come back from the other country and you feel you're not well, you can go to the people, and Vietnamese government will test it for you for free and so quickly.
But they're basically restricting people coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now.
But what they've said in Slovakia is it doesn't matter where you come from. They don't care. They don't care which
Exactly.
country you're coming from.
Exactly.
If you enter into Slovakia, you have to spend 2 weeks in quarantine. Doesn't matter. We don't care what you. I only came from the Czech Republic. 2 weeks in quarantine. I only came from Ukraine. 2 weeks in quarantine.
Yes, I mean, like, Vietnamese do the same now. They don't care where you come from, and they say like no one travel out of the country. I mean, like Vietnamese try to not travel out. So if you infected, you don't give it to other people.
So there's another thing that you can do at home, which is much quicker, and you can grow mung bean, and these are highly nutritious. Now the thing is, every time you go out and leave your house to get supplies from the only things that are open in Italy, which from today are pharmacies and food outlets.
So you cut 4 holes, cut this bit, 4 and here.
Yeah.
You put the mung bean for
so
24
you
hours.
soak the mung beans in water for 24 hours.
And then put in here.
Yeah.
Open it and put in here.
Yeah.
And then close it. Put somewhere warm and dark.
Yeah. They really like to be at sort of tropical temperatures, around about 30 to 36 degrees. So if you've got like a furnace in America or a boiler house or a radiator, if you're in a colder climate.
But very, very dark.
Yeah, it needs to be completely dark. So these are actually great. So they're waterproof and so on. And essentially the mung beans, you just want enough mung beans when you fill it here, just to go on the bottom. And that morning and night you change the water. So you fill it up with water and then you let it drain out of the holes. And then you put it down, and within 3 to 5 days, depending on the temperature, you will have absolutely delicious, crisp mung beans, and you can stir fry them, you can eat them raw in salads, you can put them in your own home baked bread. This is a way to get salads in your house. The mung beans are cheap. You can buy them in big bags. If you go into Trader Joe's, you can get some big bags in there. In fact, any Asian shops, even your local supermarket. This is a way to have some salad to go with your kind of rehydrated pulses and your rice and your potatoes and stuff. So hello, Bob. I know this is off topic. I think it's important to reach out to you about this as soon as possible. I was wondering what the best method for contacting you to discuss some astonishing observations I've made that I believe are closely related to Lunastrike. I believe go to the quantumheat.org site, not ball lightning, and if you use the contact form, you can contact us. Now, I've talked a bit about growing your own food, and it's not necessarily for this season, it's for next season, for 2 reasons. One, there might be a even worse bug that comes along, and you want to have food in your garden. Because in Vietnam, almost anyone's growing their food, right? In
countryside.
Yeah, and so
in Hanoi, like even in the center, they have a top floor, and they buy some, like some what is it called? Like
grow pots and stuff.
And then they put the soil in, and they just growing like morning glory, a lot of Chinese cabbage, and all kind of coriander, even the basil and all kind of.
I mean, when we were there in January, most of the people we're staying with, they are going into the garden to harvest their vegetables and fruits and to go and eat them. And even they've got their chickens at home. And if you want to get quails or chickens, you can get those, and you can harvest the eggs, and the chickens will often eat your waste, the stuff that often gets thrown into the bin. They'll make you eggs, and you can make the eggs, and you can make omelets and freeze the omelets if you have a big freezer, so you can extend the use of the protein from the eggs later in the year and make sure you waste less food. So I've got a whole bunch of things. It's quite satisfying to grow sweet corn as well, and that obviously keeps as well. So I want to talk about one particular thing, and we've been taking this. I said to Kim, we need to start taking this, particularly because Kim.
I feel much better.
Yeah. So Kim is obviously Vietnamese, and she is darker skinned than myself. and we're in a
I'm
north.
cooking in the house.
We're in a northern climate, and she works indoors, so she gets less sun exposure, and there's much less sun available in the winter in northern Europe.
I feel so down when
Yeah.
when the dark
Yeah.
day.
So, but the point about getting the D3, sorry, the vitamin D, is that vitamin D has been shown that if you have a normal amount of vitamin D in your body, then it can reduce your chances of getting respiratory infections from viruses and bacteria by about 15%. And if you have, like, you are dark skinned or Asian skinned, or you get low sun exposure, or it is the winter in your climate region, then having daily doses of vitamin D can reduce your chances by 80% of getting a viral or bacterial infection. So what happens is with this disease is it will go from your nose down your throat into your lungs. Once it's in your lungs, it damages the alveoli, the little bits that do the gaseous transfer into your blood of oxygen in and CO2 out. And this damage then invites any bacteria that are around that you may be otherwise quite resistant to in, and then all hell breaks loose. So this will help you and put you in the upper bracket of people who get through this with no complications, don't have it, or survive, whereas you might otherwise not do. So I went on Monday this week, no, on Saturday to the pharmacy to get some vitamin D, and we bought the last 2 packs.
No, it's today.
Was it yesterday? 2 days ago. It was not today.
Wait. Was that Monday or Monday?
It was Monday.
You
Yeah,
went
so.
with millions.
Yeah. So vitamin D, I would get that. It doesn't need to have any of the other vitamins in, but you might not be able to find in your region a D supplement that is without other things. So get a D supplement. Okay, so. Vitamin C is good typically with a normal cold, of which the secondary infection might be a normal cold. It doesn't really protect you, as far as I understand it, much before the cold, but during the actual cold, it can reduce your time to recovery by about 20%. So, but really, the vitamin D is the one you seriously want for this bug. I've already talked about in the previous video I gave you a month ago about the need for antihistamines, and also not necessarily to use paracetamol at the height of the fever, because the point at the height of the fever, the virus can't multiply if you're high temperature. Also, that's when you're trying to get the upper hand on the virus, and that's part of what the fever process is. Okay, so vitamin D taken regularly, under 20 milligrams, bought a load of vitamin D. Excellent, Steen. Good original substance. Brilliant. Not being prepared is the biggest danger. So I haven't feared this thing. We were already getting well prepared. We were already weeks into having our vitamin D on the 11th of February. It's now the 11th of March. We're pretty much ready to go. And on the day we're ready to go with our stocks of food in, our antivirals, our antihistamines, everything in place, we have our first cases in the city of that we're living in, and it's declared a pandemic by the WHO on this very day. So you shouldn't fear this. You should fight it. Don't fear. Don't be prepared. And you can do it. You can still. You're going to find it difficult to prepare properly when you're not allowed out of your house. That's going to be difficult. You're going to find it difficult to prepare properly when the only places you can go are once or twice a week to the pharmacy and to the grocery store, and they're going to say you can only have this amount of rice, this amount of pasta. You're going to be limited. But like I say, some seeds can go a long way, and at the very least, you get the pleasure of growing your own food.
You can grow peanuts.
Yeah, peanuts are great. Yeah.
The most important thing is to really understand what's going on and to be really careful and to think about yourself, about family. Just do it. Stay at home. I just received a message from my friend in France, and she just said that there are a lot of talking on TV with journalists and blah blah blah. Nobody cares about them. Everybody's criticizing them because somebody say maybe we are 10 days before Italy and we will be the same way. But nothing happened because Macron, the president, doesn't care because between the 15th and the 22nd of March will be the municipal elections. And this is totally crazy. She says, my friend says that, in France they have the state 2, not the state 3 for the epidemic. And so nobody really cares. She said that she knows a nurse that she just continues to make to teach and to go to bars and to restaurants. And
having worked in the financial system for 9.5 years as a sort of fly on the wall, making someone look good, but without having all of the gratuitous benefits that were awash there, I can say that it wouldn't surprise me if certain people said, don't worry, everything's going to be fine. Quick, sell the shares. Fine, absolutely fine. Quick, offload those shares. Fine, don't worry. Okay, have you sold everything? Right, now we need to take this really seriously. Do not be surprised if that isn't the game that's being played, right? So, the best thing that can come out of this is a debt jubilee, really. And in that case, you need to convert your and that's another thing. The thing about buying food, and it's almost any food, right? As long as it's long-term storage. If it can say, it's good to June 2021, that's fine. If it says it's good to June 2028, don't eat it. But the point is that you might find that every foodstuff you buy might be 20, 30, 40, 50% more expensive this time next Christmas, right? Or this time next year. It might be hugely more expensive because the world has not been producing food and they've all been still eating it. And so probably the single best investment you can make is a small person, not a person that's got too much money, you don't know what to do with it. But if you're just like the average family, you can find that investing in some long-term storable goods can actually be a lot better return on your money than putting it in the bank. Yeah. And plus, someone can come along and say, your $10 now is worth $1. Ha 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 ha. That's great for people that have got debt, but not for people that have got money. But if that person that had money bought $10 of food, they have maybe $20 of food the following year. And, they're sitting pretty. So these are things that the worst case scenario is, for some reason, there's a lot of farmers born and they make a lot of food this year and food is cheaper. Ain't going to happen. The only thing that's likely to bring the cost of food down is the fact that oil is cratering right now. And that is like 1 in 10 calories, like 9 out of 10 calories is like oil, like if you look at it. So something like that. And so basically your food might go down in price because oil is so cheap and in highly mechanized countries. So I wanted to talk about sterilization. So if you've got some hypochlorite with basic bleach, that is, you need a 0.1% solution. That will absolutely deal with this stuff. In terms of, Emanuele wants to go and visit the little boy's room. Whilst he's in there, I'm just going to grab something that's in there. A lot of people are overpaying and panicking about hand sanitizers when soap is probably even better. And I'll tell you why. Firstly, it's darn cheap. You can still get it. And the second thing is it has an oleophilic molecule in there. That's how it clears grease and stuff from your hands. And that molecule is able to get into the virus, the sort of shroud, apparently, and break it. So it actually kills the virus almost as effectively, if not more effectively than this is what we're told, than actually alcohol wipes. So when it comes to hand washing, I would recommend going happy birthday twice. Go happy birthday to my hands, happy birthday to my hands, whilst you're washing with soap. And remember, use your knuckles, use your little finger to operate touch screens and to open doors if you can on the hand that's not your writing hand, and so forth. So soap is a good plan. Now, the other one is People are wondering how they deal with higher temperatures. I'm a bit of a scientist, and I've tried a lot of novel things using cheap equipment to try and solve problems that people have done with millions of dollars of equipment over the last 8 years. And so you might find that in your household, you have one of these. It's a standard hairdryer. And the virus doesn't like heat. And you might find, rather than using chlorine everywhere where you might want gloves, which you don't have, you can literally, all of the surfaces you would most likely contact, like the toilet seat, I'm just thinking of the visual here of people all over the world using a hairdryer on their toilet seat and their handles in their house. But anyway, I'm absolutely serious. If you can locally raise the temperature to the kind of temperatures that a good hairdryer can kick out, that's going to certainly give the viruses a bad day. And it's something that everyone probably already has in their house and can help them deal with this problem. So I'll let Emanuele sit down again. So this is coming to you. If it's not already in your country, it's coming to you. Sorry, but it is. You need to deal with it. If you haven't prepared, paracetamol for your kids, vitamin D for you and your kids, antihistamines to stop the cytokine storm, which can give you multiple organ failure, masks either made or bought, but even made to prevent the infected from contaminating your household. Choose a place in your house which will be the infection zone. You cannot rely on hospitals to do this work. In fact, the chance of you going to a hospital and not having the disease and then coming out with it and then going back and infecting your family is quite high when there's this kind of case numbers that you have in Italy. Like, so, I've got a cough, I'm going to go to the hospital. Like, you're basically going to walk out there with coronavirus.
Don't do that.
So, like, you're going to take it back to your family. So you need to kind of think about this and manage the disease in your household. In terms of what Vietnam's done, it's been an example to the world of what can be achieved. We'll see how it plays out over the next few days, because when this thing gets out of the bag, I mean, in Angela Merkel said, I think yesterday or today, they're expecting 60 to 80%. Why are they expecting up to 80%? Because when you get 80% of the herd that have had it and have survived, then you don't get any more spread. And, but what you want to do is not have it up like it's gone in Italy. So no one can help you. Doesn't matter how rich you are, how important you think you are, you're just not going to get the help, right? You want to be able to flatten that infection rate off. So the same number of 80% of the population get infected, but it occurs over the whole year or over 2 years, rather than very, very quickly, where you're going to get a lot of people that rise above the death line. When they're just going to triage you and say, look, you've got a spot on your nose, you're probably going to die. This person hasn't, we'll save them. It's going to get to the point where the person that's most likely to survive is going to be the person that gets the care.
Yeah, today the governor of Veneto just said, our mathematic model says that if we go like this in the next 5 days, we go to the top of people intubated and blah blah blah. If we don't respect the rules, on the 15th of March we will have 2 million of people.
And the 15th of March?
Yes.
What's the day today?
11, I guess.
11.
They're saying that they expect that there will be, if they do not respect the rules that were introduced today, basically no one goes anywhere except to the supermarket for groceries or the pharmacy. That's it. Italy is shut down. If they don't go, then they will have 2 million people infected within 4 days.
Just on the north of Italy.
And if you've got a death rate of 8%, do the math.
That's a problem. Yeah.
If there's 1 million people, I don't even want to think about that. It's just
no, me neither. Absolutely.
And
you got 95 million in Vietnam.
Wow.
96.
96. One good thing about Vietnam, as I said, a lot of people live in the countryside and they grow their own food. They can isolate and they can survive. They don't need to rely on the supermarket down the road to have the groceries, right? But a lot of people live
go
in
the
cities
rice
as
too.
well.
They go in rice in
Yeah.
countryside too.
Yeah.
They don't have to care about food in Vietnam, but like I talked about the girl, not about the case number 17, the case 34. She have a house in the UK, in London,
Yeah.
and she went to Italy for Fashion Week,
Yeah.
and she come back and she got cough and then fever. She went to hospital. They're not checking it, and then they gave her some medicine, right? And come home, and 4 days after she come back to hospital again, and they still not testing it, and they come back and they say go home to get rest, blah blah blah. So 2 days ago, her family sent an airplane to pick her up and come back. It's really bad now. I wonder why is it?
Basically, you can't rely on people to give you a test, and that's just the reality. You are very soon going to be on your own.
Yeah. So her family pay $400,000.
$400,000. Her family had to pay for a private jet to pick her up.
Yeah.
Because she wouldn't be allowed on the plane.
No, see, but her family says they don't want to.
Well, she would have had to have gone into quarantine, wouldn't she? So yeah.
And she come back, and then she talked with.
She's lucky she's got a family that can pay $400,000.
Yes. I mean, yeah, but.
On that note, we're all in the service industry, and I have survived and been able to volunteer my time because we rent some rooms and Kim provides food. Now, the prime minister or whatever it is who has some hotels or something, some big politician in the Czech Republic who has hotels has got a thing about people renting out rooms in their house. And I think today they've announced that in Prague, they're not going to permit it because the Americans stayed in an Airbnb. And so they're banning Airbnb. And my point was, oh, well, that's just great. We're going to basically have no money for months and months and months.
We have to pay for the taxi.
And the same person created a new law at the end of 2018 that says this is a service. And so you have to pay tax going all the way back to 2009, plus all the fines and the interest on the fines. So this is just the person in the tax office said, I don't think they want Airbnb in the country. And today they basically said in Prague, as far as I understand it, no Airbnb. So, but I said to Kim, this is ridiculous because if that American had stayed in a hotel, they'd probably infect far more people than staying in a small house.
They come out for breakfast together in
one room. They go into the hotel lobby, or they go into the hotel's breakfast room.
If I earn about 10 hotel in Prague, I will do the same if I have a good season.
You what? You don't blame him from screwing over the little guy.
If I have a 10 hotel, I will do the same. Right?
Yeah, we don't blame him for wanting to stay rich. Yeah.
Oh, God.
What now, Emanuele?
No, nothing. It's about.
Yeah.
It's about Trump.
But I don't know where he come from here, but I mean like the one British guy came to Vietnam a few days ago, and he went on the plane with the people got infected.
Yeah, I mean this is the risk, isn't it?
Wait.
Traveling.
He traveling, and but the Vietnamese government tried to contact him and asking where he been and where he stayed. He didn't say anything else, and then he come back to UK on other plane now. So we have.
So I mean, here's the risk: you should only be doing travel you absolutely have to do. Like I said, that epidemiological study that showed that a person got infected 4.5 meters from a person that had the disease means that in closed spaces, that's like nine meters around a person, a diameter. There's a 9-meter zone where you're going to get infected. And then on that same bus, someone got onto that bus 30 minutes later and got infected. So the the virus can stay suspended in the air and can infect 30 minutes after someone has been in an environment. So basically, you don't want to. You can go outside and you want to be a minimum of 2 meters from anyone, right? Inside, you want to be 4.5 meters from anyone else. I don't know how people are going to do shopping unless they are provided with masks. And it's not, as I say, not the mask for you to not get infected. It's for you not to do infection to someone else. You have to have that on there.
Okay, so this guy not try to work with the immigration officer, and he come back to UK already now. But we normally do not public the passport or blah 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 like this, right?
Well, I
But
guess you
now
want to know
this
who's he
doesn't-
contacted.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they have to.
So the Vietnamese government has published this guy. I'm not going to show it.
No, not.
But has published a person who they tried to contact, having known he's got the virus, and so that other people can report where he's been. Okay, so I'm going to see if there's any questions here.
Really? Why are people doing that?
The swine flu could have become just as bad, and it didn't. I'm not so sure it could. The swine flu is not the. I think the R naught on the more infectious strain that's in Italy, which you probably almost certainly will have if you're in America, has a very, very high R naught factor. That means it's kind of like measles and above. It's very, very easy to infect multiple people as a person because it has this period of a number of days even before you're symptomatic. So asymptomatic period where you can infect. Okay. Yeah, that's a real shame that you've not changed your cleaning regime. There needs to be you if you're a cleaner and you're working in public spaces at choke points, for instance, in hospitals or hotels or whatever, places where there's going to be a changeover of different people, you really need to be well protected.
So that one I can really well. But I want to
Yeah, so as I said before, maybe a hairdryer is good to kill viruses on surfaces. I have family in Australia, and they're just coming out of their summer now. But the virus there is going from case. It's now on cluster, and going to boom. Yeah, a couple of days ago, they said that the death rate is 8% in Italy. That was yesterday evening's figures.
78 people died in one day, right?
I mean, now the infection rate is going through the roof. The percentage rate has dropped because I think it's like 970 have died and there's 12,000 dead. So
700 something. 800.
So So it's bordering on 8% even today, but yesterday it was around about 8%. Yeah, Ebola. The thing about Ebola, it's so good at killing people so quickly, it doesn't spread very far. The problem with this disease, it's like I describe it as like airborne AIDS, but worse because AIDS you can manage. And even there's at least the second guy in the UK is cured of AIDS, but you can manage it for decades and live a relatively normal life with the medical regime. You can survive it and get scarred lungs and have a denuded life, and there's nothing that can fix that. Nothing. You're going to have bad lungs for life, and so that's even if you survive. Granted, this is something that's going to affect older nations more, and that's the thing. Vietnam, very young nation, South Korea, young nation. A lot of the Middle East, young nation. When I was working at the bank, they said there were 600 million people in India under the age of 25. Very, very young nation. There are a lot of these nations that people would think, oh God, they're going to really suffer, but they're very, very young. So they're going to be the people that survive. It's the Western countries which have a lot of old people, and particularly North Italy. It's like one of the oldest, other than Japan and some areas actually in northern Vietnam. There's very few places on earth that have quite such a large number of old people. And so they're the, I think in Italy, and in fact, in most, even in China, the vast majority of people that are dying are over 80. But again, this is not counting those people that come in because they've had a road accident or they're in their 40s and had a heart attack and they can't get serviced properly and they die. Exactly. They're not in the figures, but they're going to be dying because of coronavirus. Okay. As far as the numbers in China, it is around 4%, but the age spread is very much different. Do you believe the Chinese government official number of death and infected? Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. Why would you know? I believe the South Korean figures. I think they're probably the most accurate. And I'm fairly confident in the Italian figures because they have a very good social system, healthcare system. It's just not able to cope with this. Yeah. It's just not designed to cope with it. If it was able to cope with it, they wouldn't have shut the whole country right now. They've shut the whole country. Am I being over dramatic? Well, I'm a dramatic person anyway, so this is actually,
he's an actor.
This is not really me being dramatic. I can give you dramatic if you like. This is not dramatic.
Annoying,
no,
right?
Yeah, it's annoying, isn't it? Yeah, it's true. No, I'm not. If you think it's normal that China would stop 300, 400 million people from leaving their homes, then call me over dramatic. If you think it's dramatic that multiple nations are now giving life sentences for leaving your self-quarantine, then call me dramatic. If you think it's perfectly normal that the third largest economy in Europe has shut down today, then call me dramatic, okay? I don't think I'm being even close to being dramatic. This is something that you've never experienced in your lifetime, and almost none of your leaders' parents have understood this in their lifetime. But I worked in the banking system. I understand the exponent function. I understand the exponent function because of the science that I do. And my first job was in the antibacterial and antiviral center in Worthing at SmithKline Beecham, which is GlaxoSmithKline or whatever. I do understand a little bit about virus and antibacterial development research. Most people will get mild symptoms. Great, fantastic. But do you want to be the guy that got mild symptoms? Look at me, I'm great, but my granddad died and my grandma died, but I'm happy. Yeah, for me. No. This is a responsibility that every man, woman, and child has for their fellow human being. It isn't about the people that do well, okay, all right for me, Jack. It's about the people that they infect, that they involuntarily manslaughter because they think they're all right. That's the point. And when the healthcare system gets, or the doctors tell the politicians what the truth is behind this, you get the situation that you have in Vietnam. You go out knowing you have the virus, and as a result of you going out and having the virus, and you recover, and it's just a mild cold for you, and you barely noticed you even got it, but 2 people died, you can get 12 years in jail. Same kind of thing.
And here even more. Here you have 10 years and you have paid for
Yeah,
only
$150,000 if
And
you
10
lie
years.
about where you've been here. This is not a joke. It's not a joke. It's not about you surviving. It's about your responsibility to the rest of the people around you.
Yeah, Czech government now really try to do things, right? 91 people here today after only 46 2 days ago, right?
Yeah, 2 days
Yeah.
ago it was 46,
46 and
91
to
now.
91.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like 1,500 a day now in Italy. But you don't even know. I mean, it was like 9,000 yesterday. It's 12,500 today.
It was
Again,
10. But
Yeah,
it
10.
doesn't change.
I mean, again,
It's almost 2,000.
Czech president say if you don't tell the people where you come from and blah blah, and you don't separate people, blah, 3 million.
Yeah.
Crown.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Bude bene.
20 minutes max.
20. I know. Okay, so we're going to have to start wrapping this up. If anyone's got any questions now, if you want any experience, any particular things that you think you might want to prepare, or insights from Italy or Vietnam or Czech Republic, or I mean,
All those school closed. We don't know when they'll open.
okay, so the latest in the Czech Republic is the schools closed yesterday.
Meeting over 100 people.
And they don't know when they're going to open
the
again.
Museum.
Well, anywhere
Whatever,
where you
yeah.
have 100 people is going to be not able to operate.
Supermarket sometimes, like yesterday, more than 100 people when I'm there.
Yeah.
Buying food. So what? Maybe you say,
Well,
only 10 people come in.
When you're saying in Italy they're only allowing 1 or 2 people into the supermarket at a time.
Yeah, there's the queue. Everybody stays out with
Yeah.
a mask, and
Yeah.
then they let you go in.
So in Italy, you have to queue outside with a mask, and then they let you in one or 2 or fewer at a time.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
To do your grocery shopping.
Posts or
So any enclosed space.
now everything is closed.
Well, so the only things that you'll be able to do in Italy now for indeterminate amount of time is go to the pharmacy or to the grocery store.
So I got the news, and one of the most famous
Maybe
players
you
of
can-
Juventus has the
Right.
coronavirus.
Well, you know what happened yesterday? The Minister of Health in the UK got the coronavirus.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
some also in Italy.
So, maybe you think I'm dramatic, but if your government dies, it's not a chance to celebrate because they're meant to be organizing the stuff, right? So, at some point they've shut down Brussels, as far as I understand. They've shut down the European Parliament, haven't they?
If
I don't know.
Yeah, I thought they did.
They don't have
I don't think so.
Well, I don't know. They've got to think about it soon if they haven't done. Because, I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah.
If they don't
I think I'm probably about 2 days ahead of them. Yeah.
If no one can get food, then call me so I can deliver some.
Oh, right. Yeah. So if you happen to be in Eastern
Yeah,
Europe.
delivery works anyway.
Yeah. So, okay. So I think we're going to wrap that up. No, 8% isn't across all ages. It's heavily skewed to the older people. But as Emanuele said, in Italian hospitals, there was a lot of people in the 20 to 30s age group that are having to have respirators in order to get through severe pneumonia. And if they're getting severe pneumonia, my brother had severe pneumonia when he was in his late teens. It really made him a thin man. It makes you a weaker person because you get scarring in your lungs. And that's basically, you have to live with that. There's not a lot of options when your lungs are damaged like that.
So in Vietnam, I come back from Vietnam after the hospital integrated not testing her that already.
Yeah.
But somehow
Yeah,
it's
you
like-
only need one irresponsible person in your community to make it go ballistic. One irresponsible person.
The case number 17 is infected for 2.
Yeah.
Like her aunt and then her driver. And now her driver been home for few time, and now more people get it from him. Ms.
Len, 24. I don't know how old you are, but if you are in the older group, you need to make sure you just don't contract it. and you need vitamin D in any form. And then when the sun comes out, go into your private garden if you've got one and get yourself some sun on your skin and enjoy that beautiful thing. It's that great ball of fire in the sky. So I think with that, thank you very, very much for your time. When is the next one? Like I said, it was a thing that the community that we are. We're a community interest company, and we have been investigating low energy nuclear reactions. This technology is able to create transmutations, remediation of nuclear waste, unlimited energy, and we're one of the organizations at the forefront of that. But the community that support our community interest company, and we are a volunteer organization, and we're only funded by the crowd, that they are interested in this subject, as naturally many people are. So having had my experience in antibacterial research and so forth in my early career, and having grown my own veg and lived in third world countries for much of the last 2 decades, and having this unique perspective, I thought it would be helpful to share insight. And really, if you are in a country that thinks you're okay because you've got a few tens of cases or hundreds of cases, you're just a few weeks behind. You're just a few weeks behind. There's no herd immunity. That is the most important thing to remember. Nothing in your politicians' parents' lifetimes has ever come close to this. And to think any different is just a case of sticking your head in the sand. We're living through it right now.
Do you know this?
So thank you very, very much. If we do another one, you'll know about it. Otherwise, subscribe to the YouTube. I can say that with 2,000 videos or so on our channel, the one we did that I did on February the 11th, 1 month ago, is the only video that can't be monetized in any way. And I assume that this immediately will say it can't be monetized. And I've produced a lot of other videos in our very small field, which have received many more views. There is a deliberate attempt to restrict any discussion, serious discussion about this subject. And I think this is actually as big a crime as people going out knowing that they've got the virus and basically being airborne AIDS on legs, but with a faster and more incurable death rate. So you can tell your friends, share this video, because it's the only way it's going to be heard. And you can see during the course of this video, we've had live announcements from the Italian government and from the Czech government. The only reason that we haven't had much live from Italy is from Vietnam is because it's nighttime there. So so thank you very much. Thank you, Kim, for your expertise on Vietnam and your opinions and views there. And thank you, Emanuele Ruggiero, who is available for videos and film documentaries. So 5 million died in 1957. Yeah, I think if you look at the lowest ball rate, where 80% of the world's population will get this at some point, and if we take the most optimistic view of the deaths based on the young population and the very early intervention in South Korea, you're looking at around about 0.7 of the world's population times 0.8. So 0.7% times 0.8. That's a lot more people that are going to die than 5 million. Yes, for film and documentaries, Emanuele Ruggiero, you can look at kinovision.org if you want to support our project, which is the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project. We have a Facebook on that name. We have a Twitter on that name. We also have @MFMP on steemit.com. We have a very prolific YouTube, Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project, and at quantumheat.org. There's a donations page, And if you want to help support our open research, we have researchers in a number of countries that's working in the community interest. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.